Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Business Hard podcast. And this episode, we've got Wesley Bruce to talk about his concierge business. All right, so we've got Wes on the pod today. So actually, before we get cracking into the business, Wesley, I'll let you do your introduction. So tell us about Wes. So firstly, what do you do?
So I'm Wesley. I run a concierge service. Pretty much that's what I do. Yeah.
Okay. So before we get kind of into your concierge business, and I was just saying to us like off mic, I was just saying this is one of the pods I've been looking most forward to because I enjoy the ones where you don't actually I see like concierge companies on like social media and things like that. I've never actually sat down with someone who either works in one, owns one, or whatever to actually see like how they work. So I've been quite looking forward to this one. So like as we're kind of getting stuck in, so tell kind of us, the audience a bit about yourself in terms of before starting your business. What was the background like? What were you like in school? That type of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So I was born in Liverpool. Moved to Sheffield in year 8. Yeah, near the end of year 8, and done my studies there, my GCSE A levels, and then I ventured off to go on.
What were you like? What were you like in school?
I was quite good though. I was quite good to be fair. The only complaint was that I was just a bit of a chatty patty. Just loved just life at the party really. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
What was a lot of business owners that we get come on, they always it's varying, but a lot of them go right. School, it wasn't the end all and be all for them. They didn't really perform as well as probably they could have done. What was that kind of like with yourself?
No, I performed pretty well in school, to be fair. Came from a strong African household.
Oh yeah, we know about them. Yeah, we know about them.
You've got to get
the
your
grades. The grades got to be on point, don't they?
So yeah, I left. What is it? Secondary school with, I don't know, I think it was like 14, 15 GCSEs, B to A stars.
Right, so it was a small lad. Got there.
Then done my A levels. Done biology, chemistry, and health and social care. I got all B's in that, to be fair. And then I took some time out before I went to uni. Just had a gap year and wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I went off to uni to do biology.
Okay, so just going back to when you were younger, when you were younger, what did you do? Like I just heard you say that you didn't know what you were going to do. Did you have any type of idea? Like when you were younger, did you have any specific aspirations? Was there a career that you maybe wanted to pursue?
I was into football quite heavily, to be fair. I was in and about like Sheffield United as well. Academy was there for a bit. My little brother played there as well. So we were into football a lot. My dad used to play back in France, back in Togo. That's where we're originally from. He's quite a good player, to be fair. So obviously went through our genes. So we were into football a lot, and then, but we had education first. So did education.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, so what did you study? What did you study in uni?
So my first degree, I did biology.
So I'd just like to say, did we hear the drop? He said first. He said, I just want to hear that. He said my first degree. So go on.
Well, I didn't finish biology. So initially, what I wanted to do when I left A levels was to do radiotherapy. I didn't get a place initially, so I went to do biology at John Moores, and I just went feeling it. Second year, I dropped out. But that was because I had an opportunity to study radiotherapy at University of Liverpool. So packed that in as soon as I knew I could switch across.
Switch it. Oh, okay.
I had to do. It was quite. When did you finish uni now? Like May, June times, and I had to apply for the September coming. So I had to do 1 week placement at a cancer hospital to make sure that I was eligible to get into the course. So I had to arrange all that. And then went for the interviews. They really liked me, so I managed to get on the course. And then, so that's where I'm at now. Yeah, so I'm going into my 3rd year now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you get into starting your business? When what was the? I mean, did you have an entrepreneurial spirit? Beforehand. Where does that come from? Like, where did someone just think I'm gonna start a business?
I just quite like the idea of, so how I got into it was I worked. So whilst I was at uni, I was looking for a part-time job. So I was in town handing around TVs, and I had one CV left, and I handed it into Flannels. It was my last CV. I was thinking, oh, they're not gonna, hire me. Just like I'm a student, and I just couldn't see myself in that environment. So I just thought, you know what, let me just give it a shot. Gave my CV in. The manager wasn't in the time I handed it in, but one of the workers there said, come back in an hour. So I came back in an hour, spoke to the manager, came back the next day for an interview. He really liked me, just hit off straight away. And then, I started the week after, really, yeah. So that's where the concierge started, really.
Oh, so you worked at a concierge beforehand?
No. So Flannels is a retail store.
Oh, okay, retail store.
A high-end retail store.
Right,
So they
yeah.
sell like designer stuff. And so that's where I was working, and that's where the idea of the concierge came from.
Okay. So you thought to yourself to be the conduit to get the stuff from the high end kind of store. So like, what was you thinking then? Because we've skipped a bit where you've gone from working there to starting it. So you're working at a high end jewelry store. So what then? What was the thought process like?
Okay.
How did you put two and two? Because my mind didn't just skip to I'm working there. Let me start like.
Yeah,
how'd you go from that?
Okay, so take it back a bit. So I was there for 5 years. I was there, and I launched the business 3 years into being there. So what happened was a lot of like footballers used to go into the shop, and I used to like serve them essentially. So if there's an item of clothing that they want that's not in the store, that I could get by ordering online or just helping out, really. So I'd be like, here's my number. If there's any bits that you need and you can't make it into store, let me know and I can put it aside for you. And when you're ready to come to store and get it, I'll be there to serve you, or I can deliver it personally myself to you. So it's all about like building trust with your client, really.
Building like relationships.
Yeah. So that's how it started. So I was kind of like call it a personal shopper, early stage personal shopper it was. And that's where that was the main service I offered at the time. But I didn't imagine it to be a concierge. But
So at the start, innocently, is kind of like you didn't think of it morphing into the others. We'll talk about the other services, but it was just started from that. So okay, so how long did you do that along with working at Flannels?
So I'd done it whilst I was at Flannels. So I was doing that whilst I was Flannels. Because working at Flannels allowed me to get access to clothes before they came out. So I had an idea of what stock was coming in before it came. So I'd WhatsApp message the people that I'd served before. I was like,
so that was kind of like one of your early marketing strategies.
Yeah.
Because you worked to somewhere who would get the stock in early, you could then maybe contact the high-end clients and go, okay, this is going to be coming in.
Yeah.
What are the options? Have a look. Okay, so that was kind of like the early kind of marketing.
Yeah, so they'd be like, is there any new Gucci's coming? I'd be like, oh, I'm not sure, I'll have a look for you now. Or is any new, whatever brand they wanted at the time, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll have a look for you. If there wasn't anything at the time, I'd be like, okay, that's not available, but we've got something else that we could possibly like. And then, so literally from there, really it started.
Okay, so that was the first service you kind of offered. So take me into kind of the growth of it. So first of all, what services do you offer now compared to at the start? Because at the start it was more the personal shopping.
Yeah.
So what services do you kind of offer now?
So we still offer personal shopping. We do properties, so villa rentals, buying villas. We also do yacht chartering, private jet chartering. We do.
That's a very big skip, isn't it? That's a very big skip from firstly. So okay, so talk me through that. So going back to the time when you were still working at Flannels and doing your business on the side, when did you then decide to make it into all of this? And then also, where did you get the ideas from? 'Cause I think that's really thinking big.
To be fair, I like big things myself. Do you know what I mean? So I would like to envision myself on a yacht or a private jet. I like that kind of stuff myself. But working at Flannels, I couldn't see myself getting to that stage. But I thought, you know what? Like, I don't want to settle to be, not average, but I do like the finer things, you can say. So I thought, why not just go for it? I've seen a few people do it before. There was one company, probably the biggest globally now, and I thought, why not make this into a proper thing?
That was going to be one of my next questions. So, what did you look at when you were starting up, or when you looked to, okay, I'm going to expand into this? Did you have any like blueprints? Like, did you go through? Like for me, I remember like I've told the story on the pod one time. Was like when I was looking to start up, I literally called, because I'm in healthcare. I literally called the care companies around, would ask about wages they pay, all that stuff. So I did like a bit of like market research. Did you have anyone that was like a blueprint?
I didn't have a blueprint per se, just because at the time I was doing it, there weren't many companies around. So there was one company. So I've done a bit of research on Google and read a few articles on how they work, watched a few YouTube videos, and I even applied to become a member of the concierge just to see how it would work. So yeah, I applied, and they gave me a phone call, and they asked me a few questions to see how I could become a member. So if I was eligible to become a member, essentially.
Yeah.
So I used
that as a market. Yeah. So you use that as like a market. To incorporate that like into your business.
Yeah. So I used that, and then So
how much? So in terms of like when you start and you properly want to make it into this big business, for those of us who don't know, like how much money was kind of involved, or you don't have to say figures, how did you plan for starting? Like what costs were they? Because like I can imagine, did you have to purchase stock in advance or do all that when you went out on your own? Like what's the process, and what did you have to think about to get the business going?
So in terms of costs, I paid for stuff like being insured for like booking flights and hotels and stuff like that. It's called IATA. So every travel agent needs to have a code, essentially for them to be able to book holidays, hotels and villas and stuff. So I had to invest in that. I had to invest in a website. Luckily, one of my close friends is into marketing and graphic design and stuff like that. So he created my website, helped me with the concept of like my business cards and stuff like that. Costs. That I kept my costs quite minimal because at the time I was still a student. So it's not like I could blow loads of money on different things. And obviously, early days, you don't know what you really need. So you can't really just... Even if I had the money, I wouldn't know what I would.
Early days, you don't know what you don't know, do you?
Yeah,
like exactly. You don't know what you don't know. And I always love it because I think when you're starting, when you're starting a business, a lot of the time everyone thinks you need to pump in loads of money. No, you don't really. I don't think you really need to do that.
No.
You just need to be efficient with it, because you could pump loads of money into stuff, like you were saying. Like you could have pumped loads of money into stuff, but that may not have benefited like your business. Like I find.
So like even in terms of the clothing, a few friends would say to me, why don't you just purchase stock and then sell it when you need to sell it? I'll be like, but that puts me at a loss, because what if the clients don't want
what if they don't want it?
So there was no point in me doing that. But luckily, I still had my contacts at the store, and they they helped me out, to be fair.
Was it when you started, like when you wanted to go bigger? Did you have a business plan? Did you have like a vision? Like did you have a plan of, you know? Because I know when you're saying like when you started yours, there weren't many around. Did you have like a vision of what you wanted the business to kind of look like?
To be honest, I had a vision of it being just like the services that I offered. I had that vision, but how quick it came was surprising to me. So essentially, for like the partners that I have for like the hotels and stuff, like for example, I've been in meetings with like Five Palm, Dubai, and like Nikki Beach, Nobu, like all like the high end ones, and like I didn't anticipate myself to be
Like that, and
like
then that quickly.
that soon. Yeah. So
Okay, we'll go to how was handling that? Like, you know, when you get into rooms where like the people that people would consider like upper echelon, like people like that.
Yeah.
Like when you get put into them rooms where from when you were starting your business still at uni to when you go sit into them rooms, what's that like? And how do you take it in your stride?
So what I used to do, even before I even like went into meetings with people, I used to go to London a lot. I used to go to Harrods and Selfridges to just get a feel of feeling inferior, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when I'm in those places in the future, I know how to handle myself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I get you. Yeah.
So now with the meetings with these people, it's they're surprised that I'm firstly a black male doing this. There's been times where I've been on Zoom meetings and I popped up on a screen and the person's like, oh, like surprised that so like, sorry, I'm tailing off. So what was the main question?
No. So like, what's the going into them rooms? Like we're talking about that because I think for me, like I've had a couple of them experiences where I think because mine initially was age, because age. I remember like when I first started, I was like 21. I was really fresh, like couldn't even grow a beard and things like that. And you're in rooms with like 50-year-old like CEOs and directors and stuff like that. So you're talking to them, and I could always notice at the start you had to earn a lot of respect because like they view you as, you know, just a kid, which essentially you are. Yeah. So how did you adapt to that? And then was it just a case of like winning respect through like your performance, them working with you and stuff like that?
So in terms of that, I keep a portfolio of who I've partnered with. So when I go to speak to other companies, I just present to them, just be like, this is who my partners are, these are who my clients are, and this is the range of services that we offer.
So like a proof of concept, like proof of this is the people that I've worked. Okay, that's good.
So as soon as they hear that, they automatically like open up to you.
Yeah, because they want to. Because a lot of people like that. Like I remember we had Ruben, who's the model. What he said was like when his like people would go, when he would go to like agencies and he'd tell them the companies they've worked with, they'd all be like, "Oh, you've worked with them." Then they'd like the vibe and the attitude would change. So I think that a lot of that's how that worked. Yeah. So when you were starting up, did you have like a vision of like, okay, now this is a viable business? Like I remember. More monetarily, because I think you could. The thing as an entrepreneur is it's just investing and not seeing a return. Did you? I remember I set myself some goals of okay, when we get to this is a proper viable business performing on its own. Did you have a target of that, and then like how soon in did you reach that target? You don't have to say exact numbers, but did you have like? Did you think to yourself? Was there a point where you thought, okay, now this is a proper viable business?
I didn't set a monetary target per se. I just honestly, I just went with it. I just networked as much as I could, and once you work with somebody, the word goes round.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So because I've helped this guy out, someone else will contact me through this guy
them,
and be
yeah.
like, okay, cool. So after I did that, I implemented a membership scheme. So you become a member of SVO concierge, but then there's also a non-members option. So you just pay an extra fee for the services that you require, essentially, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So there's a members and non-members. So membership fees have obviously led me to be
like, okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
okay, so like I remember you. So you were saying like it was quite quick. What were the challenges? So with starting businesses, like there's always certain challenges. Like I remember mine was like breaking even was the first one. Like that side of it, hiring staff was one that a couple of years in I only got right. So what were the main challenges? So when you're thinking, okay, this is me getting ready to start my business, what were the main challenges that you had to look out for?
The main challenges I'd say were, well, firstly, balancing it with my studies. That
Yeah,
was
can imagine, Christ.
that was a challenge. So I'd be sending emails off in a day, and during this time it was lockdown, so we were learning from home anyway, so everything was online. So in the day I'd be sending off emails to different companies and arranging stuff, and in the evenings I'd be doing my work, my uni work.
Yeah.
So I'd be watching the lectures, making notes in the evening, but then I'll wake up again in the morning, go
Get all that done.
gym, crack on, and then do business work. So it
was a lot to manage.
It's tough. Yeah. It was tough, but yeah,
worth it though. I think, and then kind of now. What year into your business now is it?
Going into our 4th now.
Okay, so what's the year on year? What's been the differences? Like, say for example, the first year you started to year 2 and year 3. What are the main differences?
The demands that clients place.
Okay, so let's go. Let's go. You don't have to say who. You don't have to say who yet. Like what type? What are we talking?
So it could be stuff from organizing, like proposals, like people have been proposed to in the Maldives, like stuff like that. So that's quite new to me because I've never had
to do that. Yeah.
Plan or get people to plan stuff like that. So that was a new one, but literally first year it was literally just getting clothes, and then the year after it was more watches. People started getting into watches a few years ago, and then after that it was the holidays, the villas, the hotels and destinations.
Do you find that they're like, are there trends? Because you said first it was the clothes was the big trend, and watches. Are there Are they always like? Is each year, is there a certain trend? Like I've noticed, like I mean, because I follow a lot of the footballers on Instagram and stuff. A lot of them private jets now has become a thing. Whereas before, I never used to really. I mean, I never used to really notice that much. But now it seems like it's a thing. The Dubai thing's a thing.
I think it's more because it's on social media now. So. And a lot of the youngsters
will do what they see.
Yeah. So a lot of the older, like I seen, for example, it was Olivier Giroud. He was on a standard plane with just everybody, like just regular people next to him. So I think as you get older, you make wiser decisions. But when you're younger, at that age, you're gonna live a little, aren't you? But yeah, in terms of trends, so. Booking for holidays normally come around February, March times.
Okay, so they'll pre-book like
around.
Say if like for now it's like summertime, they'll be pre-booking like earlier in the year.
February, March, yeah.
Okay.
But then international breaks as well is all around the year, so people don't get selected for the national squad.
Oh, so then
they
they'll
go
hit you
away,
and be like,
so that as well, and then winter time it's more clothes, more drip as they call it. So winter time's more clothes.
Do you have like, so with you, do you have like repeat clients? Is that where like your main business is, like the people you work with all over again? Like, is that kind of like, because I would imagine in yours, the people that kind of make you the profit are the big people that are members, and then the people that coming in are extra. So is that how that kind of worked, where the people who you've had for a long space of time, that's what I would imagine.
Essentially, yeah. So even people that I've known growing up, they use my service and they use it quite regularly. So, and even high-end athletes and business entrepreneurs, they use me quite regularly as well. So they are my repeat customers. But if somebody wants a one-off thing because they've been recommended by them,
so how do you? So is the advertising more word of mouth then? Is it more like, say, if I was to kind of work with you, then I might let Jacob know and things like. Is that how clients kind of come to you, through recommendation? Do you do any other forms of advertising? 'Cause I've seen your social media is quite active and it's quite visual. So is there any other types of advertisements that you do?
I run the usual Facebook ads, Instagram ads, stuff like that. So I target it to the more affluent areas.
Okay.
So like I wrote a list one time. I just wrote a list for the affluent areas within the Northwest.
Like the areas to like target.
Yeah. So I just run my ads there, and then then people will follow the page or have a look at the website and stuff like that, and then like query on the website as well. So that's how I do marketing, but most of it is word
of mouth. Yeah, I'd imagine, especially like in sporting and like football and things like that, because they speak a lot and because they know all that. Like we had Iddy on, Iddy.
I went to him today.
So we had Iddy on, and Iddy literally said like, all the footballers, because you start cutting a couple of their hair, then it goes around to like, okay, now like you cut to Liverpool's hair, then the other 21s and all that. So is it kind of like that atmosphere where, because the others work with you, then they'll see you, then they'll click on, so like word to mouth is like the biggest promotion.
And because essentially and because I built a lot of trust with my clients through working at Flannels. So there'd be times where clients would come to the store and request for me, but I wouldn't be working that day. Yeah. So I'd message them, be like, go on.
Yeah. No, I suppose, because Iddy was saying that, I suppose it's like trust is the trust is important, because like, especially if you're dealing with like famous people or whatever, they don't want someone who's going to be like a groupie.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I can imagine that. So like, especially like in Liverpool, if one of the Liverpool players, like imagine Virgil van Dijk walking into there, I bet you everyone's gonna be like acting like a groupie towards him. So I bet you the fact that you've had the recommendation from the one person's kind of like cool. Because Iddy was kind of saying that. Iddy was saying more like now he goes and cuts people's hair in their homes because he's built that trust, and they know he's not in there like taking pictures of them being, do you know what I mean? So I think that kind of, for the job you do, where you'll be seeing people like that, I'd imagine that's quite a big one. So in terms of kind of like, well, back to kind of the growth over the time, do you see yourself expanding into other stuff? Because like, it seems from what you were saying, like from year to year you add on more, and then also like we're saying, like you adjust to the trends. Do you see yourself adding more? Or is there more stuff you kind of want to add to the business in terms of services?
In terms of services, can never say never. Really, you don't know what opportunity may come along. You see, but I have thought of other companies that I would like to put as a sister company with the concierge and stuff like that.
Okay, talk me through that. I like that.
So currently, I'm involved in football currently. So I'm part of a recruitment team at a professional club. So that allows me to get access to players and people in the game, owners, chairmen, agents, all that kind of stuff. Like I've got access to all those kind of people. So I'm looking to maybe venture down that avenue too, but I'm not too sure.
You ever thought about being a football agent?
Yeah, plenty times.
You ever thought about it?
Plenty times.
I would. I've got a friend who's a football agent who runs Like he's based in Manchester, and it seems like the funnest thing ever. But I don't think it'd be for me though, because I couldn't deal with having to deal with all of them. Like,
Yeah.
so some of the conversations we have, he says he loves the job, but it's a bit like, you know how you were saying like the demands. It's a bit like that. Have you ever thought about going that? Because it seemed like the perfect match.
Well, we'll see in the
We'll
future.
see.
But at the minute, what I've been doing is I've also been helping out, like a bit of talent management. So like there was a young girl that's like she's an artist. She's a artist now, and I've been helping her out with her, with negotiations with brands and stuff like that. So it's been good.
Like experience
to get a taster of.
Yeah.
So
I think expanding is the key. I mean, as long as like, for me, the way I look at it is you got your bread and butter, you know, the thing that pays the bills, that, you know, fixes. But I think it's good to look elsewhere for certain stuff, as long as you can manage all that. But I think it is good to look for that. And like, for me personally, like I've been doing this. This is like I think this is like year 6 or 7, and it gets stale after a while. Like I love it, I enjoy it, but then it's like, even if it's stuff that I don't have to be involved in, I'd like to be involved in something else, even if it's something that I don't have to be there day to day. So I'm a big kind of proponent to like, expanding is a big thing. One of the questions, actually, going back to services you provide, one of the things I've always wondered is, how do you get that? Like, how do you get stuff? So say, for example, I say to you, okay, I want a private jet to Greece. How would you go about getting that? Like, I've always been interested to know, what's that process like?
So obviously, you just contact. So we've got a private jet partner.
Right, casually. Private jet partner. How did you get the private jet partner? That's more what I'm interested. How does one look in their phone and go, okay, this is my guy with that can sort the private jets? Like, how did you find that person? Like, how did you?
So well, a lot of the partners and all the different services that we have, we look at the needs of the company. So with, for example, the private jets and the hotels, we filter out the best hotels in the best locations. So that's the key. So we offer our clients the ultra luxury, the premium. So we just contact them, explain who you are, what you do, who you look after, and more times than not, they'll respond and just be like, oh yeah, we're interested in, set up a Zoom meeting if it's far, set up a Zoom meeting if it's close, you just catch a flight or whatever, and just discuss how we could work together, and that's how it works essentially. And with the private jets, it's just the same concept really. You just contact them, be like, this is what we do. Are you interested in possibly working together with our clients, X, Y, and Z?
Just out of curiosity, just for me, I've always wondered this. How much does a private, like, I know it depends on location, but say, you see all the footballers going to like Mykonos. How much from like London to there, around about, would that cost?
Firstly, it depends on the size of the jet.
Okay.
It depends if you're going 4, 6, 12, 24, do you know what I mean? It just depends. So you could be looking at anywhere from 10, 15K to 50K.
55.
It depends.
Fair enough. I've always like, because I've always wondered like, how would you go about finding? Because I always see them and think, okay, so there's definitely someone they work with like yourself, and then how does it kind of go there? And then do you use? You were saying, I think, do you use like the same person? So like, say for example, the private jets and all that. Do you use the same company and like build a relationship with them that way?
Yeah.
So then they kind of know that, okay, he's reliable.
Yeah.
He brings us clients, and then maybe they bring you some clients as well. Is that kind of
how it works? Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah.
I always ask everyone that comes onto the pod, have you got any like targets, like 2, 3 year, 5 year, or do you also set yourselves like yearly ones? Like for me, I do the long term ones, like I do the 3 to 5 year one, but then also I've also quite gone in terms of micromanaging. I've gone more quarterly than kind of yearly, because I think a quarterly, especially in my type of business, quarterly things can change. Have you set yourselves long term, short term, and then how often do you change them?
I set more long term. I don't really change them often because long term is can be anything from 3 years plus, really, essentially. So, I just make sure I have the basics in place every week, every day, essentially. If I need to know that all my documents are in place, all my I don't know, all my hotel portfolio is up to date. Stuff, just the little things, just making sure that they're ticked off every day. And then like eventually that will help your long term goals.
Are you ever looking to like expand more, like grow your team and things like that?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that one of the things?
Definitely in the future, yeah. I'd love to build the team around me. At the minute, it's just myself, and I'm able to
Doing
manage
very
that
well,
myself. Yeah. But I would like to eventually have people working.
Have a team, yeah.
And
because I've seen like, because you target like, I think you're more northwest based, aren't you?
yeah, northwest and South
South
Yorkshire.
Yorkshire. Yeah, I think you were saying so. So is that to kind of start it off because you're based in the northwest, so it only makes sense. Have you ever thought about maybe going down south? Because London's the place, or is that kind of what?
To be honest,
You're a northwest guy.
yeah,
You're a
because
northwest guy.
there's in London, that's where everything is. So there's more competition. So like as for like the last three years maybe, I've seen 5-6 different concierges launch.
I can.
So, and I think at the minute it's cool to have a concierge service. I've seen so many about, and yeah, but when I started, there wasn't that many around. So I thought it probably would be best for me to stay in the northwest, just because there isn't one.
I think also there is something to be saying for sticking to the market. Like the market, is. You know how it works, you know the people to go to, but also I think here you're established, you've built yourself a reputation, and then also it's easier to get clients because you work in a specific area, so I'm sure like everyone will be kind of coming to you for that. Lastly, we're going to go next to my favorite part, which is the QAs. We've had quite a few. So the very first part, who's the most famous client you've looked after?
Trying to think.
Oh, okay, name three. Not just the one. Name three.
So, Steven Bergwijn from Tottenham.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Gini Wijnaldum.
Okay.
And Big Shaq, Xherdan Shaqiri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are quite big. Those are quite big names. Bloody hell. Fair enough. How do you track being profitable? Like, is there a metric that you've got to track that? Like,
elaborate.
Like, how do you know? Like, I do quarterly now. Like, I do quarterly checks, and quite simply, I just go and see how much money's going out versus how much money's coming in.
Yeah.
So just for me to track how much, if I'm actually being profitable. So for example, like there'll be like last year, I split them up into quarters. Last year, three out of the four quarters we were profitable. One we weren't. So I kind of track it in terms of that. How do you do you have a system of how you track that in terms of goings, or like say in a year, do you track, okay, the business has made this much profit? And
yeah, we do track it. Obviously, we've got our accountant, and so what we do is we look at the bookings that we have made. Like most of our income comes from the holiday bookings that we make.
Yeah.
So we look at how many holidays we've booked, where the locations have been. So you look at the most profitable location, and you just go from there, really. But yeah, you just go from that. Yeah.
What's the difference between working in in an establishment, but then also owning? What's the difference between working somewhere and then owning your own business? Basically, is the question.
Well, the difference is if owning your own company, there's a lot more responsibility. You can go to your normal work and put your hours in. You can do your standard 9 to 5 or your 12-hour shift, and then you can go home and
Forget about
and
it.
rest. Yeah, but having your own business, you don't switch off, and it's constant. Like you'll be asleep,
Yeah.
and you wake up, business. Even when you're sleeping,
You're thinking about
you're thinking about business. Before you go to bed, it's business. You're stressing about how you can improve or make it better. It's some people may think, okay, yeah, my business is okay, so I can sleep peacefully, but I doubt most people, they don't. So yeah,
Do you know what's really funny? I dream about solving problems in the business. Like I actually have a vivid dream about it. Like I agree with you, man. I think like when you own your own shop, like I think the responsibility is down to you.
yeah.
And then also like if you don't work and if you don't earn, you don't pay the bill. Like you don't pay the
100%.
bills. Whereas at work, I mean, depending on how integral you are to the business, essentially the full responsibility is on someone. Is on someone else. I think those are the key things. And like you're saying, you don't get to go home
off,
at 5 o'clock. Like sometimes I always think to myself, I envy, like I would love to do that, but then it's like because you do get to go. You get weekends off. You don't. You don't get that if you got your own business. Any hobbies outside of work? Like any hobbies you got?
Like I said, I'm quite into my football, so I watch a lot of football.
Still playing a bit?
Nah, I haven't played in a few years, to be honest. I hung up the boots ages ago.
Yeah, same.
So
No, you got to find something. Like I stopped playing football. I regretted stopped playing football because I gained a bit of weight. But then like I play rugby now because it was just like I needed something every once in a while to take my mind off something, and also something to compete in.
Yeah.
So I think that part of it's very good. Do you read or listen to any podcasts?
yeah, I watch quite a few podcasts, to be honest. I watch. There's a new one in England called Baller Talk.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, with James Alabi.
James Alabi.
Yeah.
Femi Elesumi and Mehdi Don E. They call him. Yeah. I watch. I Am Athlete.
Yeah.
The Pivot.
So loads of sports related, loads of sports
I watch
sports businessy pods.
And Uninterrupted, the barbershop.
Yeah,
James
I like it. Yeah, I love
I
Uninterrupted. Are you into audiobooks or?
Not really, no.
Okay, see, because I used to love when I was younger. I used to love reading, but I can't sit still anymore. Like I can't sit still reading a book. So what I always do is the books that I want to read, I'll get them in the form of audio. Then like it's same as having a podcast and things like that. But you do have to really be into the book. I find.
To be honest, I've never tried listening to an audio book. I can't really speak on it because I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't done as much. How do you stress manage? Like, how do you stress manage, especially work stress? Because I can imagine there's lots of it. How do you stress manage?
I go to the gym, like so my Sundays, go gym, go for a swim. My gym's got like
we first met in the gym. Yeah, we first met in the gym.
It's got like a fire and ice like thing where you can just go and relax, and it's got like a jacuzzi and stuff. So my Sunday ritual is I go there and I just
let it all go,
just chill. Literally just chill. I try and go on holiday as much as I can. To be fair, I'm quite good at managing stress. I don't let the highs become too high and the lows become too low.
I think that's the most important thing. I think learning emotional control has been the biggest thing, because like I remember when I started, I used to be proper emotional. Same. Like I remember when I started, like when something goes wrong, you proper take it to heart.
You beat yourself up.
Yeah,
about
you'd be
it.
like, oh my, like you'd proper take it to heart. And now, like the same stuff happened. I'm in the office, like, cool, take care of that one, take care of that. Because I think if you keep letting your emotions be a yo-yo, like you won't last. Like you won't last long. So I think that's the main thing. Like mine's kind of the same as you because we're actually met in the gym, but like mine's always like I have to go to the gym at least 4 times, like just in the week, just to like blow off some steam, or I've got to do rugby, I've got to do something like exercising. That's been like my big saving grace.
It's an escape, really, isn't it? Like I've had days where I've been like working like all day and my head's just absolutely frazzled, and like your missus comes home from work and you take it out on her by accident, like just because we all been there. Like so I just try and get out the house as much as I can. So just to make sure I'm not stuck in all day, otherwise I just like
you'd be like in your own head. And then what I'll do, the final question is mine. Always try and leave it with this one is, say we do this podcast back in 2 to 3 years, what would you like it to look like? Like where would you like to be? Have you got a plan with that? Like where would you like to be?
In 2 to 3 years time, I'd like to have more staff in the business, and officially launch the other business too.
Officially launch the other business.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I see myself personally in 3 years time, and maybe having like an actual office as well. To be honest, at the minute, just to keep costs low, I don't need an office. I don't, because I'm only booking stuff and I'm either going out, so I don't really need to have a base location per se. So my base, I just work from home on the laptop. I'll sit my laptop everywhere.
Yeah, I suppose also like when you start expanding, probably that's when you need one as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. So 3 years time, that's
right. So tell everyone first before we go. Tell everyone where they can find you, social media, ats, and everything like that.
Yeah. So on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, it's SVO Concierge, and the website is www.svoconcierge.com. and LinkedIn, SVO Concierge too.
Perfect. Right. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.